Hello, this is me, Dark Meta, and Bob Lazar is a fucking retard and a scammer. He's a fraud. Figured this out a very, very, very long time ago. I mean, around the time that his name was just popping up and popping up and popping up, and it's like, okay. They're like, whoa, man, this is awesome. This is crazy. Tell me about it. And like, wait a minute. No, he's saying contradictory things. What is he talking about? Wait, no, he's describing physics now that don't make sense and don't work that way. What is it? What? Nuh-uh. Then other weird things. You start to think and realize, wait a minute, it's just fucking weird. What the hell is this guy talking about? I thought he was saying, like, scientifically, here's a real thing that, and here I can show you, here's a thing that's going to happen, or something, anything. No. Just sci-fi, believe me. Aliens, guys. Me. Technology. Me, aliens. Knowing.
Okie dokie. This is an attempt to make a more concise version of the video I uploaded last night, which went through in great detail Bob Lazar, his backstory, his claims, and all of the available evidence that now exists to debunk them. But man, oh man, been wanting to do this for a long time. Really glad I'm finally taking the time to do so. So this cut is just going to be different because I'm going to more or less skip over Bob's backstory. This video is for people that already know the broad strokes and who simply want to have the various what I call gotchas of his story debunked or sourced. Because the truth of the matter is, in 2021, every element, no pun intended, of Lazar's story can be easily debunked or sourced. And by sourced, what I mean is you can figure out where in ufology or where in the wild he would have gotten the idea to include it in his story. So just to briefly touch on it, the general story...
I think I did notice it felt like a hodgepodge of like bits and pieces of like just little pieces of stories and little pieces of real technology mixed in with like, the fucking underneath here is the flux capacitor, but I can't tell you how that works. But trust me, bro, this whole thing is real. Like the magnet motor engine, it's like, there's not a man underneath the cabinet. Just believe me. I know this whole other physics that I figured out and all the smartest people in the world couldn't figure out. I did, though. And all these weird contradictions and things that are unexplainable, just look, aliens, bro. Trust me, bro, aliens. Trust me, bro.
Bob claims to be a dual master's educated physicist who first worked at Los Alamos on propulsion, and then after relocating to Nevada, was handpicked by Edward Teller to be read into a classified program that studied crashed flying saucers in the desert at a base called what he said was S4. So he claimed to have worked there for not too long. I think it's 3 to 6 months overall, somewhat infrequently, trying to reverse engineer alien craft with very little success, only to get himself fired for taking his friends out into the desert. Why would you do that if you were actually legit? But taking him out to the desert to videotape what he claimed was a flying saucer test mission. So assuming if you're watching this, you already know the broad strokes of the story. So what I'm going to do is kind of run through the different pieces of it. Because again,
I just saw something about the element, too. It's, what, element 115? This is like, people use it as the black swan. They're like, if all else fails, which it does and will every time, I'll just say this. Haha, got him, guys. Got him. What an idiot. What a retard. He doesn't even know about the element that Bob totally discovered for realsies. For real, though, all by himself sees. Okay, tell me more, bro.
I spent a lot of time researching Lazar and finding the documentation that goes with his story. So, this document here in my opinion, sums up what I think about Bob Lazar very well. This is from his court hearing. I'm not going to get into the pandering thing other than acknowledging that it did exist, which would make him ineligible for a top secret clearance. But when they researched him, they came to the conclusion that it is the contention of this department that the defendant is no more than an intelligent con man who has totally fictionalized his prior academic and employment history to further his own interests.
Oof.
And when it comes to Big Bad Bobby Lazar, I kind of agree. I think he's just a hustler. Most of his plays seem to be financially, tied into financials and scams of some sort, and who knows why he...
It's a grift. The whole thing is a grift. It's literally just the fucking magnet motors. Magnet engine. Like, I shouldn't say magnet motors. It's motors that push on other magnets, which would create a repulsive force, and cancel out any energy you're putting in, and then it will push more, so you have to push more energy in, and you're gonna have a loss. You can't push something with nothing. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Oh, but Homeboy solved perpetual motion, free energy, all this, because he has the alien technology and because reasons, and trust me, bro.
Actually came up with a story or what he was looking to get from it. In my opinion, it got away from him, became much bigger than he wanted to, or much more attention was put on it, and he backpedaled it unsuccessfully. But yeah. So, for what it's worth, if I'm missing any part of the story that you would like me to touch on, let me know in the comments.
You didn't mention that he's a fucking retard.
This is new. I'm obviously a new channel, new to all of this, and I'm doing this completely unscripted, off the cuff. So let's get into it. Element 115. What is Element 115? So Lazar claims that the flying saucers at Area 51 were powered by Element 115, and why this is important is because at the time, Element 115 had not been proven to exist, hadn't been synthesized or fully confirmed. However, so in theory, that it has now since been synthesized in Russia, I think in 2010 or 2012, I forget the year, but it was made. It was very, very different from what he said it would be like. He claims to have physically had it. He said that there was like a disc of this element that powered the flying saucer, and that he also stole some. He claims to have it in his possession, but that he refuses to show it to anyone.
Wow.
But Bob first made a TV appearance. I'll give you a guess when. His very first appearance on TV was May of 1989. Why is this important? Scientific American, magazine that a guy like Lazar would almost certainly be reading, had an article that month about speculative super heavy elements. And one of the ones that is discussed in this article is 115. So basically, the same month that Lazar came out with his story, Scientific American featured that exact idea. And Lazar is very clever with this. He's very good at picking things that are likely going to turn out to be true anyway, or that are just not widely known about but will be in the future, and then pointing to them and saying that retroactively backs up his claims. Like,
he's a fucking lifelong scumbag piece of shit. That's the problem here. He's a lifelong pathological psychopath, fucking lying grifter that has been stealing money from people for decades, like the fucking amoeba that he is.
No one knew about 115 in 1989, but it turned out to be real.
Fucking goblin. He's a fucking goblin, dude. That's what I was trying to think. I'd rather be an amoeba than a goblin.
The I make with this is if I said that I worked on a top secret program where we had TVs that were 16K in resolution, and if they ever make those, it's going to prove that I was telling the truth, because hey, they didn't exist, and then they do now. But really, you're just banking on something that's a near guarantee. Clearly in 1989, it was already being speculated that these things would turn out to be real, and lo and behold, they did. Doesn't prove anything. So Element 115, in my mind, is totally bunk. Like, if he has it in his possession, show it. It's that simple. At this point, he's really got nothing to lose by doing so. If he was going to be charged for breaking any of his classified confidentiality agreements, he would have been. He has not been. So that's where that came from. Totally bunk. So Zeta. Why bring up Zeta Reticuli or Reticula, whatever it is? He claimed when he first was at S4, like the first day he was working there on this program, that he sat down in a room and they gave him some documents that kind of summarized the history of the program or you know, what they had found, and that the aliens were from Zeta Reticula. It doesn't explain how they know that or you know, where that information came from, but why is this important? So, Betty and Barney Hill was the first and easily the most publicized alien abduction case of all time. It was, I think, 1961. They claimed they were taken on board a ship, you know, standard abduction scenario like we hear about all the time. Taken on the ship, they're probed, or there's medical stuff that goes on, and then they're dumped back off, they're missing time. But the wife specifically, Betty, she said that she was shown a star map. She asked the aliens, where are you from? And they showed her a chart that looked something like this. You know, strangely enough, it wasn't her that said the aliens were from Zeta, but it was actually another woman named, I think it's Pauline Lovelace is maybe what her name was.
Alien, dude. What the hell? Oh, what the heck? Have I seen that before? What the heck? Similar. Oh, what? Similarity to The Outer Limits? Yeah, that looks so fucking familiar. Is an alien? Yeah, an alien played by actor John something depicted on television 12 days before the making of Hill's Grey Hypnosis sketch. Oh! If you ever wondered where the original Alien Grey came from, well, this is those people, obviously. Well, it might not be obvious, but you might already know that, and then in that case, this is very obvious, but this part of it kind of makes you wonder, the almond shape, the head, the aesthetic of it. That's not like a mustache. It looked like a mustache at first. It's just kind of like the shape of the face. But yeah, the classic gray alien, or, you know, green, the greenish skin came from a variation of the grays. It was originally grays. And then there was like reptilian bluish gray tint stories. All the stories in history spawned from this. Like, well, in recent pop culture, there might be older stuff that depicts some kind of beings. There might, I don't know. I don't think there's anything before this though, but this is the evolution of that. So yeah, it was on TV, and then after that, they said the alien story and made the sketch. So, you know, they didn't just come up with it and then people were on TV doing the acting, and, you know, they did the acting and they saw it and drew that. So, kind of crazy. I was wondering, that looks kind of fucking, I can't look at it and see it right now and think, oh yeah, I remember that. Not at all, but it just looked like strangely familiar. Maybe I was just inventing it. But I know for a fact I've seen every single Outer Limits episode, old and new series. So, factually, I've seen this before. I might have even seen this on Wikipedia or whatever. Yes, it looks like Wikipedia. I don't know. Who the fuck cares?
She became kind of obsessed with the Betty and Barney Hill story, and she hung ping pong balls up in her living room, trying to figure out, you know, what that star map showed and from what perspective. And eventually, she came to the conclusion that the aliens were from Zeta. So, why do I bring this up? In regards to Bob, in my opinion, When he decided to come forward with a UFO story, he very likely went to the library, or he kind of educated himself on UFO lore. He was also friends with a guy named John Lear, who's kind of a crazy UFO buff. So some of that could have come secondhand from him. But point being that if you were coming up with a story like this in 1989, and you went to the library and looked up alien abductions or sort of alien lore, it's very, very likely that you would see Zeta as a reoccurring theme. I think it also features in the Majestic 12 stuff as well, but that's where that comes from. Betty Barney Hill. So in my opinion, totally wrong. Again, easily sourced and easy to figure out why he got that idea. The next gotcha. So Lazar claims, well, he didn't claim, he actually did. Lazar worked at a place called Los Alamos National Laboratory. It's a very prestigious government facility where they do a lot of crazy high-end science stuff. But the gotcha here is that he claims the government, and people always cite this as like, this is why Lazar's telling the truth, man, I swear. The government went and deleted his records just like they said. So when the story first came out, George Knapp, who was the reporter that broke the story, said that he had contacted Los Alamos to verify Bob's employment, and that they said they had no idea who he was, or no record of him working there. But what they leave out is that Bob did work at Los Alamos. He just did not work for Los Alamos. And what I mean by that is he was a contract employee for a company called Kirk Meyer, and he was a technician, which I believe is probably copy machines or computer IT type stuff. So at no point did Los Alamos lab itself deny Lazar worked there. They just denied that he worked for the lab itself, which he did not.
That's pretty funny. I was thinking one time, I don't know, I think doublespeak is hilarious and interesting, and well, you should never use any skill or something or hack for like evil. So don't use it for evil. But hold on a minute.
He worked as a contractor, which completely would explain why his number was in the phone book with a KM next to it. It would explain.
Okay, he's just saying more details. I thought it's funny if somebody walks up to you anywhere with some kind of authority to be able to question you as a third party, maybe a worker or mutual, like there's businesses and then there's like a shared patio or space where people are eating, and then you're just there, or like a coffee shop. I mean, that really wouldn't work, but I don't know, like if security came and if you just said, hey, what are you doing? And you just said, oh, I work here. And they're like, oh, okay. Then they're questioning you later and said you lied. You said you work here. You don't work for this company. And you say, no, I never said I worked for that company. I work here. And you say, what are you talking about? Do you work here or not? And you say, yeah, I work here, but I don't work for the company. Oh, you work for something else. No, not really. What do you do then? Well, I just do work on my computer, like just, like working on stuff, and I do it here. So I work here where I'm sitting.
How he knew his way around, because he did work at the facility, but it's pretty cut and dry. This information wasn't shared initially because it didn't really make for a good story. The whole conspiratorial records being erased.
Wait, so if there's a no smoking sign? Well, there's a lot of funny jokes. It's like, you see the sign, I respect your opinion. However, someone's, there's no smoking. I'm right here. You see the sign? Yeah, I'm right here. I'm not right there.
I think it's kind of what it's kind of how they sell a lot of stuff.
You had to be there.
Yeah, this one's cut and dry. I mean, it's not even up for debate. He wasn't a physicist at Los Alamos. He was a technician. He worked for Kirk Meyer. Who knows what he actually did? Again, I found the job.
Yeah, anyway, sorry I get distracted. But he's, yeah. So when he says he worked there, he didn't work for them. He worked for someone else at that location doing other stuff. If I'm a janitor for a cleaning company and NASA hires us and I go and they say, oh, we hired you, you have to clean out all this stuff. And I say, oh, yeah, I work at NASA. Get your bitch ass.
This thing at one point, and it largely was like fixing copy machines and fax machines, maybe, or computer stuff. But again, pretty cut and dry. So KM contractor, totally bummed. So the next part of Lazar's story is that he, through sheer coincidence, and this is actually true, I believe, a guy named Edward Teller was giving a speech at the lab itself, which Bob attended, and it was coincidentally the same day that he was in the paper for his supposed jet car. The jet car did exist, although he did exaggerate the engine that was on it. If you want to learn about that, you can go to this fantastic site, Bob Lazar Debunks. He gets into the specifics of that, but to me that's not really too relevant. He said...
Well, kind of a little bit, because people use that to reinforce that since this is a true thing and all these other true things, all of his stuff is true,
It's in the paper that he's a physicist there, so that's what they show him as in the article, but obviously they're not going to do any... they're not going to call the lab to confirm that he is a physicist for a story like this. But anyway, he meets Edward Teller, introduces himself, they talk. I guess they trade.
And I noticed he makes claims that can't be proven or disproven, but he says it like it's provable. So you can't disprove it. But then when he's questioned, it's like, well, he has the answer because he's the alien guy. You guys, he's the alien guy. He has all the stuff. We don't have the stuff. All the doohickeys and the thingy with the whatever, and you put it together in hidden physics that no one knows but him because aliens and shit.
Information, and when Lazar moves to Nevada, he contacts Edward Teller. This was pretty common back in the day. You would...
Crazy that he's, with all the hundreds... Well, thousands of people, right, over the years that have worked and had this, however many it is, if it was like 5 people, I don't know. There's got to be more than 5 people who could have done this. He's the only one, though. Just him. There's not like 19 different Bob Lazars and oh yeah, and this, no, trust me guys, and it's like all lining up, or it's like even other scammers who have like more or less believable stories. No, it's just this one fucking thing. This one time, guys, I saw this one fucking Bigfoot in the woods, and he was there. He was riding a unicorn, shooting farts out of his asshole, and it was made of rainbow fucking, I don't know. I'm getting distracted.
Mail letters out to contacts you had saying, hey, do you have any work, or do you know anyone who's looking for this? So his claim is that he contacts Edward Teller, and that Edward Teller refers him into this alien program.
Think about this, too. Like, normal scientists are just people, whistleblowers, and, like, just anyone who has some, like, claim doesn't have, like, a decades-long timeline debunking them. The fuck?
So again, the Los Alamos employment we've touched on. S4 we'll touch on even more in a second, but I'm going to put Edward Teller. I'm going to summarize this for you because there's one crucial thing I left out. So he did meet Teller. It's possible even that Teller referred him for some kind of work because there is a small amount of evidence to show that Bob possibly worked off-site at a civilian facility checking badges near Area 51. There's not enough information on that to conclusively put it here as, like, objective fact.
That'd be funny as hell. Yeah, I worked at Area 51, man. Aliens and shit. You find out he was just the guy checking badges at the door. They gave him all the secrets, though, and he stole the stuff.
But there's a lot of strong circumstantial evidence for that. But for Bob to go to S4 or Area 51. I mean, Area 51 does exist, or S4 if it doesn't. If it existed, he would need a top secret clearance.
Yeah.
Problem is, Bob had declared bankruptcy before moving.
He has something that like makes it so that you can't have clearance.
From New Mexico to Nevada, which makes you ineligible for life to get a top secret clearance. He was also arrested. So that charge would have also prevented him from having a clearance, although I think he got arrested after Again, I'm not going to touch on the pandering thing too much,
Double
but
fuck.
so Bob was bankrupt right before he basically did a hit and run on New Mexico before he left. You can see the details of what he did here. And the reason I bring this up is you can kind of see some intent here. You know, I'm not going to judge Bob as a person in this video, but I do think it says something about his state of mind when he takes out these lines of credit. He doesn't ever attempt to even pay any of it. He owes his parents.
I am going to judge him. I am, though.
He owes some friends, banks, his employer. You know, so like this one's $60,000, he pays back $1,300. $80,000 mortgage, he makes one payment for $750. That shows to me that the intent was always to get these lines of credit and hit and run and declare bankruptcy. It's not like he was trying to pay it down, and then got overwhelmed. You know, he was grifting from the start here. I think it's pretty hard to argue with that, but it's even more relevant because no TS clearance if you're bankrupt just wouldn't happen, and therefore the chance that someone like Bob would be employed at Area 51 or something even more secret is just completely out of the question. Could not.
It's insanely laughable.
Would not happen. And Bob's story is that he was working on it before they'd done his background check or finished it, which is, I mean, I'm not in the military, so military people feel free to correct me. I don't see that being possible, but hey, who knows? Because bankrupt. On to S4 itself. So another gotcha is that, you know, Area 51 was known about, but it wasn't household knowledge like it is now at the time. The fact that he named Area 51 isn't too remarkable in itself. So the idea of S4, Bob claims that S4 was a secret hangar cut into the side of a mountain south of the proper Area 51 base itself, and that there's like 9 hangars. They're camouflaged with the desert. Couple problems with this. Again, this is actually a very clever gotcha by him, and I'll explain why. My understanding is that every military site like Area 51, every base like that, is divided up into sections. I believe I had a...
You know what I realized just now? Well, just a way to word it or whatever. But the thing is, if somebody lies to you and you originally thought that they were trustable enough that they didn't give you any indication to feel that way, now they've betrayed that trust. It's not even about letting them down for the specific point or whatever it is. Now it's just broken.
Oh, no, it's in here. It's in the article. So every base is split up into different sites or areas like this. So it's more or less a guarantee that a Site 4 or Area 4...
I forgot what else I was going to say about that. Well, okay, so if somebody's giving you something that can't be proven nor disproven, right, you might think you're stuck, but that's not true because, well, you can't prove that it's false, and they can't prove that it's true. You can see that they are veering off of truth. If someone isn't veering off, it's almost like if it was like a railroad track, but the train could come off of the track and then a light turns on. If it comes off, we're going to see the light. So it just stays on there. So at some point you might see it off the track. You also see, well, of course that light's on. Now I know. Anytime I see that thing, I know it can come off. I have seen it happen. Other times you might go, you know what? I've seen 100 different trains. None of them have given me this feeling based on looking at it and its behavior and how it drives. And certain things makes me wonder if it can leave the track. And then you see flashes of light that are like, wait a minute, was that a flash of light? No way. That's crazy. Then there's like many of those and you know, they compile. So you can't prove that they're being dishonest, but you can show, like what he's showing, diversions from truth. That can't be hidden. You're telling me things that can't be true. It can't be true.
Would exist at a base like this. Just like there's going to be an S1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it turns out S4 is actually a radar installation. It's not where Bob said it was. Now, granted, if the alien shit was true, obviously, I don't think it would be on a map like this. But there's another problem with S4. Little guy named Jerry Freeman. This dude's a fucking legend. So this was a guy who was, I believe, terminally ill, and he was very into, he was like following old trails that people had used, like Oregon Trail type shit, to reenact some sort of like 1800s thing. I don't remember the specifics of it, but he was dying, and one of his last things to do on his bucket list was that he was going to complete this trail that now, goes through the exact area of Area 51 where Bob claimed S4 was. So even though it was illegal and he knew that he might get in a shit ton of trouble for doing it, this dude said fuck it because he's dying anyway. So he actually went and traveled through the area, went and looked specifically at where the supposed base was, the hangar, and guess what? You're never going to believe this, but there's nothing there. To me, that makes it pretty cut and dry, but again, were there a hangar like Bob said? Who knows, how much obfuscation goes into it, but at the very least, it's not where Bob said it was, and, likely does not exist at all. To me, it's totally bunk, but since we don't have quite the objective level of proof like we do for other things, I'm going to not say 100%, I'm going to say 90%. The one piece of Bob's story that maybe gives a bit of credibility is Janet Airlines. What that is, Janet is an airline that flies from McCarran, which is the Las Vegas airport, to Area 51 every day. That's that's how employees get to the base and back. I don't think it was widespread knowledge that it existed at the time, but I'm sure, especially because Bob hung out at bars and, kind of posed in that scene or tried to around military or people, other scientists, it doesn't strike me as unlikely that he would have heard about it. Janet, I don't think they have like a special terminal. Janet stands for not another or just another non-existent terminal. So this one, I'll say, rumors, second hands, can't say totally.
You know what else too? He's gotten like so much credibility by just being around people and knowing certain other people, and the fact that it's like a secretive thing by its nature. So you always have that cloud that you're like hiding and dodging and like being evasive about things, and you just get a pass whenever you want. Like, oh, I can't tell you that or whatever, and I can't show you that. And then it's like other people, it's like, oh, well, that might be true, and then it's not. And then the stigma of like, oh, well, you can't talk about aliens. So it's like, oh, yeah, that's just, that's Bob Lazar. He's cool. Oh, yeah, we're just talking about like technology and stuff. And it's, imagine that has to happen a lot where it's, if it was something else, you would have to explain yourself a lot more. In a lot of different ways, in a lot of different a lot more situations, but it just seems like this would have like because it's aliens, and plus the past many decades, it's been super taboo. It wasn't even until just recently where it's like gradually becoming more and more, and then we had when they start talking about disclosure, and then from that time period, it's been a long time now, but there's still people who are like, oh, that's crazy and this and that. But as time went on, he's talking about it more and more and more. I don't know. Like other things, they're shown to be fraud, and they might still have like a small following or something. But other people, if they're like a cheater in video games or something, it pretty much sticks with them. So this creates like a vague kind of gray area where, it's not really like flat Earth where it's just like two polarized sides, and it's like, oh, I think this. Oh, that's dumb. Oh, I think this. No, that's stupid. So it's just kind of a weird, vague thing, you know?
Believe but I'll say 90% chance he found it out from talking to people. Now we're going to get to some very objective gotchas.
And that's giving you opportunity being around all these other people. I know a guy that knows a guy now. I know this one guy and he brings me to the place. I would have never been able to get in there, but suddenly I'm talking to these other people. And like 1 out of 10 generals is kind of interested in it maybe. So he gives me a little bit more clout, and now he's my buddy kind of, and then I do that again and we already had rapport. You see what I mean? Like
the hand scanner. Bob talked about how to get into the classified section of the base or wherever they store the UFOs. There's a hand scanner that they were using that reads the bone density in your hand, and sounds really good. Coincidentally, that device was used at some military installations, but unfortunately, it was advertised as early as, I believe, 1971 was when they began selling this. So it's called the Identimat 2000. It did what he said. It's a hand scanner that uses bone density. Apparently, it was really shitty and inaccurate, and the military had all kinds of problems with it. But it was advertised in computer magazines. Identimat. So that, here's an article about it in Computer World from 1971. So again, if you were reading the type of magazines and shit that Bob would have been at the time, it doesn't strike me as unlikely at all that he would have.
And like he was able to build up all this kind of lore of himself and over the years where he's just kind of in this like side pocket because it was such a niche thing, it was so fringe. So it's like all these like weird publications and little corners of the world where UFO hunters and ghost hunters would be and all that.
Seen this. Also, even more damningly, it was used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I don't remember exactly what scene this is, but there's a scene where they're checking themselves into some super secure facility, and what do they use? Identimat 2000. So, Bob reading a 1971 Computer World? Probably unlikely, he wasn't born yet. But again, it was advertised all over the place up through the 70s and 80s, but more likely is that he saw this in Close Encounters of the Third Kind and then went and found out what it was, if he didn't already know. So sadly, in my mind, totally bunk, public knowledge, existed for decades. So again, nothing so far out of his claims is unique and or proven. Moving along, his education. I don't even know where to start from with this. The TLDR, he has no proof of going to school. There is proof that he went to junior college at a place called Pierce Junior College. Stanton Friedman, who was one of the most legit UFO guys around, he definitely died on the MJ-12 hill, and rest in peace, he did recently pass away, but he really doubted Lazar, and he pressured him to give him some information. When did you go to school? Who taught you? This is the only instance I can ever find of Lazar stating when he went to school or who taught him. The teacher he named was from his junior college or his high school, I believe. Never taught at Caltech or MIT. Both schools have no record of him going there. He's never been able to name a teacher there. Any other students, anyone who might remember him, there's no yearbooks that show him. And on even more damningly, you can read about this, Dreamland Resort has the complete timeline. He was living in the wrong places to go to those schools at those times. So, in my mind, there's just a 0% chance that he attended those schools. There's no evidence of it. And this is a guy who, produced, now albeit it's fake, we'll get into that in a second, but, pay stub from when he was working at the base, supposedly. He has a mock-up of his badge. He keeps, newspaper cutouts from his jet car days, but he doesn't have his degree or any records that he went to school where he said he did. That that inconsistency to me is very, very weird. But, how was he attending those schools when he wasn't even living in the state? Pretty tough to figure out. Now, I think, maybe he was just padding his resume, trying to get better jobs than he was going to otherwise get, and people do that. I don't agree with it, but in my mind, it would have actually given him some credibility if he said, hey, look, I made up that shit about MIT and Caltech, but I was just doing it to pad my resume and get a better salary or a better job. But the rest of my stuff is true. The rest of it is all true. In my mind, that's actually, it's believable at the very least, but he refuses to budge on this, claims he's got masters. I think Stanton Friedman even said that the 2 degrees he has are like one school wouldn't let him. On top of the fact that he was a terrible student with shit records, and that there's just no way he would ever be admitted. If he had gotten a master's from one school, the other school wouldn't have let him into a master's program. I don't know. I didn't go to college, so I don't know the specifics there. Again, I'm not judging him in this regard, but it's just the inconsistencies and the impossibilities of it just make this a non-starter for me. College, totally bunk, 0% chance. I would bet my life on it. I'm going to move the doesn't make money thing till the end. The W-2. So he has shown this W-2 is like, hey, I don't have too much, but I did find this old pay stub from when I was working there, and this is who paid me. Problem is, this is the wrong department. Apparently, I'm not super familiar with this, but if there was an ONB number on it, there wouldn't be another one. So this is problematic right here. It's very weird. This is like a week or two of pay, which, okay, doesn't really tell us all that much, but, it's fake. There is a version out there that shows the social security number because it's an actual real person's. I'm not going to do that, but Lazar was born in 74. The prefix is wrong. Someone claims, I think he was Tom Mahood, if not him, maybe other hand. Actually, I don't know what resources they used, but they looked into this, and the social security number is some Chinese woman. So this is a fake document. Someone actually emailed the actual department that he would have supposedly been working for, and they clarify the issues with this pay stub, the inconsistencies that would make it not real. Now again, to be fair, I'm sure if there was a secret alien reverse engineer program, maybe the paperwork and standards are different. But given what we have, certainly doesn't look that way. Who knows how the people who work on these things for real, if they're even for real, how they get paid. But the department themselves confirms the issues with the pay stub, why it's fake. If you want, all these documents are going to be included in a link in the description of the video. If you want all of it, it's all there for you. So that's the W-2. I'm going to say provably fake. You're welcome to disagree on this because, again, who knows who pays you if you work on flying saucers and how much and from where, but because he's representing himself as being paid from that institution, you would think the pay stubs would match the actual format they use, and they do not. The UFO footage, unfortunately, I can't show it to you because it's now, I believe, copyright protected into Jeremy Corbell's awful shit fucking trash documentary about Lazar and flying saucers. But it hasn't been debunked, I will give you that. But it doesn't really, maybe we can get like a screenshot. It doesn't show anything remarkable. It's a night sky with like a dot. It's basically this. Oh, maybe this is it. Sure, because they're saying we filmed this at Area 51 and it's a UFO, that's what we see. But if we stop to really think about it, this could be so many things. And since so many other aspects of his story have been lies or totally bunk, to me, this doesn't do much for me. Again, I can't say it is or is not fake, but we don't have any frame of reference. There's nothing to compare it to, from size perspective. All we see is a white light in the dark. And to me, I'm just going to say that the footage itself is ambiguous. There's no other way to put it. Like, doesn't prove anything, doesn't disprove anything. It's pretty meaningless. But supposedly this is the footage that got him fired because he took his friends out into the desert to see it, and they do verify that they saw some stuff. I don't want to speak on the credibility of his friends. It's very possible that they were seeing something out in the desert that wasn't a flying saucer. There's a great theory about this on a site called Other Hands, where they were testing apparently proton beams at that same time, and Lazar may have known that. But again, the footage itself, if this were anyone else's footage and someone submitted it to the subreddit, they would get clowned on right away because it's a white light with nothing in it. But because it's from Lazar, people treat it differently, and we shouldn't take it objectively within the reference that we get. Almost done. This is a pretty recent one. He was raided by the FBI, I believe, in 2008.
See what I was saying before? Just all those people. Oh, well, I mean, it's him, you know? Like, oh, yeah, UFO guy who is confirmed totally legit because he just is. And everyone knows he just is a, you know... Why do you know that? What are you talking about? Why do you think that? Did you ever try to figure it out? He's making some pretty fucking insane claims that you're just like, oh, I believe in the thing. And that sounds like it would be awesome. Like, well, yeah, but no.
18? 19. I think around or during the release of the documentary, he was raided by the FBI. And the strong implication, if you watch that documentary, is that this was done to steal back the Element 115 that he had because him and Jeremy had been talking about it, or maybe they revealed where it was stashed. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm sure if the government sent secret fucking people or just sent people to steal a secret element from dude, I'm sure we would know about that. I'm sure.
If he actually had that, not only could he bring a little piece of it forward and prove his entire story in a single go-round, you would think it would be a bigger deal because he would have stolen it from a classified facility. He'd be in jail. But raid is actually much more simple. Turns out, Lazar runs a business called United Nuclear. What they are is a chemical and equipment wholesaler for chemistry and other stuff like that. And they sell a lot of very dangerous things without really caring who they're selling them to.
Jesus, man. His, not in a cool way. His fucking website looks like it was made with AOL.
He was already popped once prior to this for selling chemicals that are used to make illegal fireworks. I think he paid a fine for that. But with the FBI raid, what happened was he sold a chemical called...
Yeah, he used the internet service provider AOL, which can't make websites, to make this website.
It's Thallium? Yes. Thallium. He sold a chemical named Thallium to a dude. Thallium is super toxic. It's basically poison. And lo and behold, I believe it was his wife. The dude murdered somebody with it. The authorities reverse engineered, no pun intended. Well, actually, no pun intended. That's a lie. They reverse engineered that the Thallium came from Bob. So they raided him, and basically it was done to see, like, is he knowingly selling risky shit to people without caring about it? Because that is a crime. It might not be a controlled substance, like illegal drugs or pharmaceuticals, but, like, if you knowingly are selling dangerous stuff in an unregulated manner, it's a crime. So the fact that this happened during the documentary is just sheer coincidence, and, you know, you're free to believe that there's men in black there if you want, but there's a ton of evidence and documentation showing what the raid was about. One of his employees even went on Reddit and said, hey, I work at United Nuclear, this is why they raided us, blah, blah, blah. You can go find that if you want, or maybe I'll link to it. But in my mind, it's bunk. I think in everyone's mind it should be. It's related to murder. So last but not least, he has continuously made a claim that he doesn't do this for money. He claims to sort of not be a UFO guy. He wasn't before this thing, and he's reluctant to talk about it. He definitely doesn't want to monetize the story and make money from it. because in his mind that would take away from the credibility of it. The only problem with this is that he monetizes the shit out of it. I mean, on his business right now, he sells alien memorabilia. So, starting from the beginning, initially they sold a VHS tape through mail order. My dog gets upset when I talk about Lazar. I'm sorry. They sold a VHS tape called the Lazar tapes. You can find that on YouTube. He sold model spaceships, posters, autographed posters, multiple documentaries, multiple speaking rights. So, truth be told, he does monetize it. But he has done much less monetization than he probably could have. I mean, if you Google UFO documentary, the third thing that comes up for me, at least, is Bob Lazar's documentary with Jeremy Corbell. And that's recent. That's 2019. So, yeah, maybe he only monetized 10 or 20% of the story in terms of what he could have done versus what he did.
Hasn't he been, like, interviewed by a shit ton of people, though? And a lot of interviews that are broadcast or shown to an audience are paid. They pay the people. Like, there's no way he did all, like, every single interview for free.
But he's made a shit ton of money from this and has done so all along. So this idea that he doesn't make money, it sounds good, but if you think about it, it's just not true. He totally does. Totally makes money. This is bunk. That more or less rounds out the story. Again, there's sort of a longer form of this where I rant a bit more about his backstory and I get a bit more in-depth the documentation. You're welcome to watch that if you want. This is all new. First time making videos. I'm doing it all without a script, as I said, because I want to make it clear that it's a subject that I'm familiar with and I don't need my research or notes to like make sure I accurately convey it. So if you found this engaging or remotely helpful, or it potentially at least made you ask some questions, I've done the job I hoped to do. My next presentation/video is going to be about Stephen Greer. And to be fair, or just to make sure it's clear, I'm a believer in this general topic. I think that there are UFOs. I think there have been possible, we'll call them...
Yeah, and that's, yeah. A lot of us are, and that's what makes it fucked up. Don't be telling lies.
Non-human intelligences that have...
Mr. Laser Beam.
Severe. I think, it only takes one of these stories out of millions for that to be a very real thing. But with people like Lazar in the forefront of the topic, it just does everyone such a disservice, and especially new and casual people who are just now picking up the topic because it's been gaining steam in the media over the last few years. The fact that they have to immediately sort through Lazar's bullshit when they first enter the topic, to me, is just so fucking frustrating. So the reason I care is because I would like to change that. And I hope that maybe in some way I did. But yeah, that's the video. If I missed anything, if there's gotchas that I need to go over, let me know in the comments. There's nothing I would not be willing to look into or discuss. And thank you for your time. If you watched it and made it this far, I sincerely appreciate it, and I look forward to making more for you.
Great video, buddy. Actually, not Steve. Yep, and yeah, this is me, Dark Meta. Bob Lazar's a piece of shit.